Hello again, everyone. You're joining us for another episode of Executive Platform's Blueprint podcast series. My name is Jeff Mix. I'm head of content and research. My guest today is Reeka Labh of HighRadius. We're going to be having a conversation about autonomous software and AI, what it can offer finance executives. I think this is going to be a really exciting conversation. Reeka, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Why don't we start off by talking about some of the advances that is happening right now in the world of autonomous software and AI. I feel like it is a very buzzy time.
Yes.
Lots of people are talking about it, but I would be curious, working in the space all day, every day, what is real? What should we really be thinking about and talking about that is new?
So from an AI perspective, what I've been seeing with our multiple clients is it's such a loosely used term also. Like people think AI is being used everywhere. But it has to be a specific value that it drives when you look at it from a finance perspective, right? So for instance, what's improving your working capital? Maybe having better understanding of a customer's past payment behavior. So those are the kind of things where HighRadius also focuses on, like what is actually driving that business value to collect faster, reduce that working cap, improve that working capital and reduce that DSO. The other thing that's become like a really big buzzword is generative AI, right? So generative AI can be a very tricky topic. It's not being used a lot yet. So where should it be used, but where is it being used from driving value becomes very essential. So that's the other area where we are also investing a lot and focusing. And that's coming up with a lot of tech companies that speak with us. They'll be like, what are you doing with generative AI? Where are you using it? Is it the latest and greatest that they want?
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about generative AI? Because you're right. I mean, my ears perk up. It's in every conversation I have about AI, this is the new thing. And for finance, it's in its early days. So when you're brainstorming with your team, what is this really going to do for people? What are some of the thoughts?
The thoughts really around generative AI that's coming, it's a really powerful tool. It's getting so much from Google, bring it into like one small subset, giving you the right answer. So from a finance, it's so much number-based. And we need to think of what really is going to drive value from a generative AI perspective. Is it something with coming up with communication with your clients? Or is it with analytics, like getting reports out, getting your financial statements out of it? So those are the areas which I feel this tool will do a better work, where it's consolidating or getting feedback to come up with a response, rather than really putting your numbers through it and getting the answer from it. So that's what my take would be.
Yeah. Well, I can appreciate generative AI is very exciting, and maybe we're not quite ready to talk about all the things it's going to do in detail. Why don't we talk about what's going on right now in the autonomous software space? What are finance executives using it for?
They're basically using it for a couple of things, right? From a finance perspective, if you look at one would be of the goal of how do they get their money back faster. And to do that, they need to know more about how the customer's payment behavior or how has the cash been applied. I'm getting into a very specific use case, but that becomes one of the common issues because every CFO, their KPI is to get their DSO in check. Mm-hmm. Reduce that number of DSO, increase that working capital. So how do they collect faster? Who do they reach out to? Becomes a huge thing. And that's where I'm seeing an autonomous software has become a buzz, where they are going forward with it, trying to collect faster. Second thing that I'm noticing it again is also from a treasury perspective, from a forecasting. How much money am I going to have in next 3 months, in 6 months? If I'm going to buy a new property for my business, what is it going to look like? So they need that kind of accuracy on how much cash they're going to have so that they can also make those decisions and invest wisely. So these are certain areas where I see where autonomous software is being used predominantly among the customers.
Do you find finance executives are adapting to these tools quickly? Does it require a really good working relationship with the company's IT? Like this is new technology they have to learn. What has your experience been with their adoption rate?
Adoption rate, I think one thing which was a change that happened in the 2000s, like later part of the 2000s, was 2010s actually, was adopting to cloud. That in itself is making them adopt to autonomous software because everything, their ERP, their GL data is moving to cloud. So they're more open to going with a technology which is helping them move to that. IT is a huge role. They play a huge role in this whole process. So you have to have communication with them. They need to be on board with the whole idea. But also with any autonomous software that you're giving, you need the CFO or the finance folks make them realize that it is something for them. Like it is a business use case rather than an IT use case, and IT is there to support. So that's what autonomous software kind of makes them believe into.
I love that you're focusing on the people part of this, because I
Yeah.
think there's always that temptation when you talk about a tool or a technology to talk about all the things it can do, but
Yeah.
really what we're talking about is changing how people work.
Right.
Because very few finance executives get into it to do data entry, data collection,
Correct.
stare at the numbers, try to come up with an idea. They want to solve a problem,
Yes.
and this tool is going to let them do it much more easily.
Yes, that's the whole goal. And one thing that people forget most of the times, you have a lot of sales team, marketing team that's speaking with the end customer. So you're like, oh, the customer experience needs to be nice because they're the front end. And then you'll also have your customer value teams who are doing that. But when you're really looking at these back-end finance teams, they are also speaking with the end customer. So you need that experience to also be nice. How do you equip them more? The moment you get into that understanding and that thought process, that it's always people, process, plus technology, it's easier for them also to adopt to this.
Why don't we talk about what makes HighRadius a partner of choice in this space for finance executives?
So this is something which is personally coming out from me, but what I feel that why HighRadius is coming up as one of the established leaders in this whole place is because we are kind of encompassing the whole office of the CFO. We are just not focusing on, oh, we'll just do order to cash, we'll just do treasury. We are kind of bringing them all together. So it's not like a meal piece, but an integrated software. And the benefit of that is that you have so much more visibility at one place. It's a one-stop shop to do all of your activities rather than going to another system for this, going to another system for order to cash, another system for treasury. So everything is at one place. And the other thing which I also feel that we are doing really good at is AI. And the reason why I bring that up is because we focus so much on domain-specific AI, which drive exact value rather than just using it generically everywhere. That has also kind of put us into a place where we are like a really leading software.
Now, I can appreciate, everybody hears about tools and technologies that are going to help them. Really, the value is, are you using it effectively?
Yes.
And I wonder if we can talk about the user experience, for accounting specific or treasury specific. There are people who work in those domains, and this is a platform that's going to let them move from here to here to here. How are they getting the most ROI out of it?
So fun fact, when we were getting into the space, we kind of worked with a couple of consulting firms and did an analysis, a survey. And what came out of it was that 70 to 80% of the work that any treasurer accountant does is based out of Excel. So our biggest competition or biggest white space is Excel. So what we came up with was a no-code platform. So we call it LifeCube. It's basically the whole look and feel is like Excel, but it sits on a very strong database. It has no limitations of Excel, but it plays to the muscle memory of accountants. So it's a faster adoption. So that's one of the things that we've done to kind of ease that move into using a software right from an Excel.
Fantastic. So what does getting started look like? Do you I put myself in the position of a finance executive, and my team is still working off Excel, and I know we're behind the times, and I look at HighRadius. Do I buy a platform and it's going to replace everything I've got? Does it get built on top of it? Do I start in one little space to try things out and then scale? I appreciate everyone's story is probably a little different, but what does the typical rollout look like?
Typical rollout could be of different ways, really, right? So sometimes you probably want to start with your most challenging area and do like a phased approach. I'll see if it works and then I'll put on. But if you have that belief that, okay, the solution, you believe in the value that it's going to bring you, you might want to do a big bang approach. For us, we sit on top of your ERP. So your ERP is still going to be a system of record. We're just pulling in data, doing the stuff for you, and sending that journal entry back into the ERP. So that's how our approach is, but it could really vary from industry to industry as well.
Are there things people should be keeping in mind when they're making the decision, hey, now I'm ready for autonomous software? What should they be thinking about? Are there things that they should wait until they've hit a certain point and then move forward? What should the decision-making process look like?
The decision-making process should be that they should be very clear with the end goal. Like, are you looking to reduce your DSO? Are you looking to fast-track your month-end close process? Are you looking for better cash flow forecasting? And that to have certain numbers to it, like, okay, I'm at a 50-day DSO, my target is to be at 38 days DSO. When you have that, then you backtrack your plan. Okay, do I have enough people for it with the skill set? Maybe yes. Do I need technology for this? Then it becomes a combination of people, process, and technology. So they really need to be sure about the end goal, and then you backtrack your steps. In order to be ready really from an autonomous software, you don't need to be very prepared with your systems, because typically, like, we have the ability to integrate with different ERPs. It's an ERP agnostic solution. But the whole idea is that you should be ready with the goal of getting into this journey of achieving that end goal.
I wonder if we can talk about the working relationship.
Yeah.
If again, I'm wearing that finance executive hat, this is the solution I think we're going to move forward with. Am I buying this from HighRadius and after 30 days it's mine to run and it's a turnkey solution? Is there an ongoing working relationship? What does that look like?
So you'll have dedicated resources when you are going with the process of purchasing it, who'll get you that trust, get you that buy-in. But right after that also, we have our implementation team who's going to be a part of doing the implementation, which goes through the whole exercise of getting your data, doing a data-driven design, and then moving forward. But along with that, we also have a customer value manager, which will be part of this whole process right from the design phase. And there's somebody who's going to be very local to your region, and you can have this information of sharing any issues that you have, any kind of challenges that you face, and they're going to be with you throughout the journey. So they're dedicated till the time you're with us on that contract. So it's no way that we are leaving off or putting our hands off, but it's more of a continuous journey. We believe in maintaining those relationships.
I know we've covered a lot of ground in this conversation. If there were 2 or 3 key takeaways you want people to think about a little further, what would those be?
So deciding on an autonomous software journey is a journey that is a tough one. It's something that it's an interesting one, an exciting one, but you still need to be very clear with certain things. So as most companies are moving towards cloud, looking at autonomous software, what I do want them to do is do define your end goal, right? Like, what is your end goal? What are you looking out for? Second thing that they need to realize is AI, just not believe in AI the way it is, what value it is driving. And third is they should always remember this, that you'll always need people, process, plus technology. That's the best harmony to get what you are actually looking for. So these are the 3 things whenever they're trying to evaluate a software that they should definitely look into.
For people who may have a few questions, want to learn a little bit more, what's the best way to get in touch?
So they can check us out on our website. So it's www.highradius.com, and they can request for a call, and we are happy to have that conversation. They can also reach out to us on LinkedIn.
Well, I really hope people do that. I've certainly enjoyed talking to you about this. I think it's a really exciting space for finance executives, and HighRadius clearly is one of the leaders in the space. So if you've been listening to this and you want to learn more, go to that website. In the meantime, I want to thank you so much for joining me. This has been great.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
Absolutely. You've been listening to another episode of Executive Platform's Blueprint Podcast. I've been Jeff Mix. Let's do it again soon.